All right, what's up, people? I'm hoping to make this the final part, but I'm not entirely sure I can. So this is going to be part 3 of the 31 Jinn. Now, see, here we are, and I'm going back to, this is my preferred Quran, and I really do, despite what you want to say about Rashad Khalifa, and he is a lot into himself, and that's just true. It is what it is. But I like his translation. I think his English translation is pretty cool. So I'm gonna get away from, and yeah, I know it doesn't have the Arabic in, but whatever. This is my working Quran. This is the Quran I work on. So you can see how I do things. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a look at this in context. Indeed, they grossly blaspheme when they say God has begotten a son. Indeed, they are liars. Did he choose the girls over the boys? What's wrong with your logic? Why do you not take heed? Do you have any proof? Show us your book if you are truthful. Now see, here's we get into the Jinn verse. They even invented, and who's they? Now this is a key part, because who's he talking about? If you get the context, you'll see that he's talking about Christians, because he's talking about those that say that God has begotten a son. So he has to be talking about Christians. They even invented a special relationship between him and the jinns. The jinn themselves know that they are subservient. Okay. This is obviously, see, that's where they get the 32 from. But that only actually occurs once. And the reason why I don't want to try to explain it. I'm not like Rashad that I need numbers to be 19. In this case, it's 31. But the point being is that some of these Christians, you got to understand, like back in Muhammad's day, Christians were not like they are now. They had a lot of beliefs. A lot of them were weird. You know, they ended up calling them motherfuckers heretics and killing them within the church. And then Muhammad, of course, you know, Islam just basically wiped the rest of them out. And then Genghis Khan came along and just fucking wiped the rest of them out. So the thing you see now is not what it once was. Thankfully, we have, you know, preserved texts that are unearthed from time to time. In the Tibetan, they're called Dharma, which means buried treasure. And those refer to what are called tantras, which are the highest form of teaching within Buddhism. But I digress, because we're talking about the Quran, right? So where do we stop off at? We're going to go to 41:25. So we're going to go to 41:25. And here we go. This is the 18th occurrence. And notice I got to get to 31. And God willing, right? We're reading the Quran, so we got to say God willing, inshallah, right? We assign to them companions who adorn everything they do in their eyes. They end up occurring the same fate as the previous communities of jinns and humans, who were also losers. And I know that sounds crude, but in the Arabic, that word, it's not improperly translated, but the ones who, you're talking about the ones who lose the ultimate prize, which is to be with God in what's called Jannah, or heaven. You know, so you're going to go to the other place. So those are the losers. Just to be in, you know, proper, you know, Quranic theology. So those who disbelieve will say, our Lord, show us those among the two kinds, jinns and humans, who misled us so we can trample them under our feet and render them the lowliest. Again, the loser. See the motif? See how this is how the Quran parallels, and it makes much more sense in the Arabic. Not that I have anything to do with Arabic, because I just don't. But the thing is, again, is to understand jinns and humans. See the parallelism. Jinns and humans, and render them the lowliest, who are also the losers. This is a parallel text. You see what I'm saying? So now we're going to go into 20, which we're going to go to Surah 46. Now see, these are when the surahs start getting a little bit shorter. And these are actually, most of these are actually the earlier in the Revelation sequence. that makes any sense. So that's 21, but I wanted to go to 20, didn't I? Yeah. I wanted to go to 20. Where is it? Yeah, here it is, 20. Of the 31. Not that this verse is ayat 18 of Surah 46. So, yeah. My 20 is just the calculation of the number of jinn. Such are the ones stamped as disbelievers among every generation of jinns and humans. They are losers. Boom. Are you starting to see the pattern? Is the pattern not like the pattern's kind of creeping up on you, right? You're starting to get the pattern, right? Oh wait, hold on. There's more. 21. Recall that we directed a number of jinns to you in order to let them hear the Quran. When they got there, they said, listen. As soon as it was over, they rushed to their people, warning. They said, "O our people, we heard a book that was revealed after Moses and confirms the previous scripture. It guides us to truth, to the right path." Okay, so again, notice that not only are the jinn connected to humans, they're also connected in some way to Christians and in some way to Revelation. So I'm not going to go full there yet. Let's see where we got to go. Now we got to go to Surah 51. Again, it gets quick. With the surahs, they get shorter and shorter. So we're going to surah. I can already see my thing. This, in my opinion, this surah number 50 is like, I'm going to 51 at this point, but I think, yeah, this is 22. I think Surah 50 is like the centerpiece of the Quran. Now you know that, Al-Fatiha is, it's the surah of surahs. And then me, Tawheed, 112, that's number 2. But Surah 50, in my opinion, well, I'm not going to go back to it because I can't. Yeah, Surah 50. Q. And the glorious Quran. Now, what does the Quran start with? It starts with a Q. Figure that one out. Get back to me. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm still working on it. All right, here we go. I did not create the jinn and the humans except to worship me alone. You see, now we're starting to get to it. Jinns and humans. Again, notice the parallel. I'm not making the parallel up. So where do we go from here? I want to go to Surah 55. Did I get that one right? Yeah, 55:15. Here we go. It's 23. He created the humans from aged clay, like the potter's clay. And he created the jinn from blazing fire. Oh, humans and jinn. Now see, when it's in parentheses, like that means it's not in the actual text. It just basically says, which of your Lord's marvels can you deny? That's why we count them the way we count them. So that doesn't count as an extra one. That's not 23 and 24. Because when it's in the italic, it's actually italics, not parentheses. But the point being is that it's assumed because of the previous text. And he created the jinn from blazing fire. Now this verse here, has stuck in a lot of people's, when they're telling the story of, what are the jinn, they'll say, well, it says smokeless fire. It says blazing fire, but it's also translated smokeless fire. Or maybe that's a separate ayat. I'm not entirely sure. So now here we get to a bevy. So we're gonna start going through numbers here. So, and again, we're in Surah Al-Rahman, which he translates most gracious, but yeah, it's gracious, merciful, peace, blessings, everything, all in one. I mean, the Arabic is a very dense but expressive language. But anywho, O you jinns and men, if you can penetrate the outer limits of the heavens and earth, go ahead and penetrate. You cannot penetrate without authorization. Okay, so this gets into a series of what I call which of your Lord's this is a whole separate thing, a whole different analysis. We don't need to get into it because you see I'm already on 8 here, but the point is that we're talking about jinn here. We're not talking about which of your Lord's marvels can you deny, which is like a series. Obviously, you can see it. Then ayat 39, on that day, no human nor a jinn will be asked about his sins. Meaning the time for forgiveness of sins is over. Islam normally, I never, I mean, there's verses you can take either way regarding what's basically called eternal return. But this is 26. Their beautiful mates were never touched by any human or jinn. See, again, human, jinn, human, jinn, human, jinn. See, we're not playing a card game. No human ever touched him, nor jinn. That's 27. We're going to go all the way through this. Fuck that. So, now we need 28. So, we're looking at Surah 72, which you think would be a long way away. This is another vital surah. I'm sorry, this one. Al-Kalam. It's actually the first surah revealed, if I'm not mistaken. So what do we want here? Surah 72. Yeah, sorry. Surah 72. Also known as Al-Jinn. Okay, here we go. We're going to have some rummy here, motherfucker. Verse 1, ayat 1. Say, I was inspired by a group of jinn. Listened and said, we have heard a wonderful Quran. Let me just say that again, because I think I got that wrong. Say, I was inspired that a group of jinn listened, then said, we have heard a wonderful Quran. Okay, I got it wrong the first time by big margin. Because, okay, so what's going on here is that Muhammad is being told that basically the jinn have heard his Quran. He can't see that because he's a human. We thought that neither the humans nor the jinn could possibly utter lies about God. Human beings used to seek power through jinn beings, but they only afflicted them with a lot of adversity. That bears rereading. Human beings used to seek power through jinn beings, but they only afflicted them with a lot of adversity. Okay, so the jinn are adverse, I guess. So that's 30. Now, granted, there's 31, and that's Surah 114, which is, I think, the last surah, if I'm not mistaken. You never know. I can be wrong about shit. I'm not usually wrong about shit, but I can be. It happens. Final surah of the Quran. And I'll read the entire surah because it makes sense. And I say the 11th prime. That's the number 31. The 11th prime. Okay? Not that that matters. It's just a notice. I'm just noticing shit. I'm not like saying, oh, that matters. Okay. For those people out there. Okay. Surah 114. People, not us. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of the people, the King of the people, the God of the people, from evils of sneaky whisperers who whisper into the chests of the people, be they of jinn or of the people, meaning the men. Again, we end with jinn and men. And I think that, and that concludes that I finally, I got through it in fucking 3 chapters. But I think that really, okay, so you can see what I do here. So this is my summary of the Quran. God and the final day, Alpha and Omega. So, my analysis of things, like I've gone through and I've actually added in some, like I'm willing to put prefix letters on certain surahs that don't have them to go back to Q, like I mentioned earlier. In fact, the first surah I gave that letter to, so like, well, anywho, like I say, man, yeah, this guy's into himself. Okay, so I did this, Alifaha, the doorway. That's my translation of, he calls it the key. It's Al-Fatiha in the Arabic, and I gave it this lettering. And then I moved some things around. But this, to me, I mean, if I had to say it, I would say that the Quran is a grimoire. A genuine grimoire. It really is. It is one man's journey to the godhood. Think about it. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think I love Islam so much? And people think, oh, you misunderstand it. Those are just people blowing themselves up. I'm like, no. Those are just people. I don't care if they're Muslim or Christian or, you know, you can go back to the Tamil Tigers and whatever the fuck country that was. You know, that was definitely over there by Indonesia or some shit. They were the ones that invented suicide bombing. So it's not like it's unique to Muslims. I mean, come on. Now you just, like I say, don't put baby in the corner. You're gonna end up fucking somebody gonna blow something up on your stupid ass if you do that. You know what I'm saying? But seriously, the 31 jinn and the concept that I want you to take away from this, other than, you know, to read the Quran and understand what's really being said, is that there is this parallelism between the jinn and humans. I would say that, I don't know, it's 70 or 80% of the verses in the Quran that deal with jinn use it in parallel, jinn and human, human and jinn, jinn and human, human and jinn. You know what I'm saying? To the point where we're playing rummy. But the point being is that's on purpose. Now, what that means, there's several ideas that you could throw out there. I mean, I think that they understood it as a separate race of beings that were invisible. Kind of like you would say demons, but it's not really demons per se, because as the Quran says itself, it says that there are some jinn that heard the Quran and bowed down. So they're not demons per se. They're just kind of like supernatural, or what they call preternatural creatures. They're not supernatural. Only God is supernatural if you want to get deep into theology. So they would be preternatural. They're not angels because they are differentiated from angels. Angels were born from light, and the jinn were born from smokeless fire, which is just like he translates it, the fire that burns bright or something. Like, basically it means a fire that has no smoke coming off of it, meaning there is no substance being burnt that can both give off the flame and give off the ash debris or whatever the fuck. No, it's just pure fire. But still, they're beneath the angels who are born of pure light. And that's just that's Islamic theology. That's not me talking. That's me telling you what they think. I mean, it's not bad. I'm not going to say it's bad. I mean, it's still a comic book. You know what I'm saying? We still comic book collecting. We always comic book collecting. Collect all the comics. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, 31 Jinn, final episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm glad I got through it in this one and I have to do number 4. So there's that.